So before I leave the chapter placement, we're going to check volume as well. In front of me I have one whole UV sphere and one half here. I also added so I have some X-ray and then we can see through everything. Easy to create, but if you want you can get placement volume before starting. However, I will show you now how particle works when it comes to volume. I select the UV sphere here and then I go to my particle properties, press the plus sign and I change the frame start and frame end to 1. And then I change emit from faces to emit from volume. As you can see now, all the particles are inside the UV sphere. Nothing is outside, and that is because I'm working with volume. Now let's see how this half UV sphere works. I select it and press the plus sign. Then I go down here. I can just select the particle settings because then it will copy all the information we have from this one. If I change some settings here, it will be changed on both. What you can see now is a slight difference here. It's not filling the volume on the half UV sphere as it does on the other. And that is how volume works. So do you want it to work in a proper way? Then you need to have like a closed mesh. If it's open like this, it will be converted into type faces instead of volume. However, there are some exceptions and I will go through them. It's just so you know that the principle is have a closed mesh if you're working with volume. Okay, so now I take down this to 100. It's easier to see. I also take away random order and even distribution. And now I have everything and I can change the particle per phase to 1. And I will also change to jittered. And if I now change jitter amount, you can see that things are changing on the volume, but nothing on the phase. Okay? So that is exactly what I showed in earlier sessions. That if you put some jitter on a phase and you only have one particle per phase, like now, nothing happens with the jittering amount. However, volume does not work with phases, thus it moves. So, looks nice, but here is another thing. If you want to change the initial placement, you normally just change the seed. However, with only one particle per phase, nothing happens as expected. Nothing on volume, nothing on phases. Then we change that to like 3 or something. And now the particles are moving, but there's something strange. Nothing is happening in the sphere, only at the open mesh here. So things behave differently comparing open and closed mesh. And this is because of this volume to phases transformation. And that could be good to know. Now, the next strange thing. So if you have the type of jittered or the type of random, it's working exactly as I showed you right now. You can see that I can change it and it still is like the rules that I explained before. I can also create a bit more particles, then you really can see it. However, if you are working with the distribution of grid, that will work in a completely different way. It always fills up, as you can see here. I explained that in an earlier session that grid works in all directions. So that means that a grid is always volume, even if you use like a plane as emitter, as we did for the city in earlier session. So always volume. The nice thing with grid and volume is, however, that you can easily see what happens when you select invert grid. So I click that one, and with volume you get a clear and inverted result. So everything is now inverted and there are like no particles inside your mesh. Everything is outside on the other filled as it was like, I don't know, invisible cube or something. So all I showed before works here. So you can of course change the resolution as well. And if you want to and go uncheck invert grid, then it will only fill everything again. So this is the difference between grid and the other two, jittered and random. Okay, I know this is a rather short session, but it gave you knowledge on how to work with volume. In this session I did not go through how vertices work, but that is because they work exactly the same as faces. So the only difference is the particles are then placed on the verts instead. So that's all, nothing other than that, no difference. So now you know a little bit how to think about volume. And in animation, this could be good. A closed mesh, volume particles, and they are like hidden from start. And then you can have them prepared before an explosion or a similar effect. And that is not possible if you work with faces, because they will be visible from start. Okay, so this was like a very short lesson, but now you know about that as well, and I think we can just move on to the next session, and I will see you there. So I just say bye for now.